The Lost Army of Persia, minus 50,000 men who vanished in the desert. They called it the army of a god. 50,000 soldiers armored in bronze, banners blazing under the Persian sun, marching into the endless desert and never returning. No graves, no bodies, only silence. For centuries, people whispered their fate. Some said a sandstorm swallowed them whole. Others said the desert itself took revenge. But the truth may be even more haunting. It began in 525 BC, when Persia ruled half the known world. Pharaohs had fallen, kings had bent their knees. And yet one small rebellion in Egypt dared to defy the great king, Cambyses II, son of Cyrus the Great, ruler of empires, heir to gods. The priests of the Oracle of Ammon in the Siwa oasis refused to recognize his rule. To Cambyses it was more than insult. It was blasphemy. He would destroy them. He would send an army across the desert to tear down the temple and silence the oracle forever. He called for 50,000 of his finest men, Persian soldiers, Egyptian slaves, horsemen, and servants, a force so vast that even the sand trembled beneath their march. They left Thebes with drums echoing behind them, their faces painted with dust and pride. The journey was supposed to take 7 days. It took them into hell. The first days were easy. The horizon was clear, the winds calm, the spirits high. They sang of victory and glory, believing the gods walked beside them. But by the 5th day, the winds changed. The air grew thick, dry, angry, and the desert began to whisper. At first, it was only sand swirling at their feet. Then came the storms. Walls of wind and dust that turned day into night. The men could not see their own hands. Their voices drowned in the howling void. When the storm passed, half their water was gone, their supplies buried beneath dunes that hadn't existed the day before. Still their commander ordered them forward. An army of Persia does not turn back, he said. And so they marched one step at a time into the heart of oblivion. By the 7th day, men began to fall. Horses collapsed, eyes crusted with sand. The sun burned through their armor, their tongues cracked like old leather. They tore pieces of cloth to cover their faces, but the wind found its way in. At night, the temperature dropped below freezing. The same desert that burned them by day froze them by night. They huddled together under the stars, thousands of men, praying to gods that had stopped listening. Then, one morning, a scout rode back to camp, his face pale. There's nothing ahead, he said. No water, no life, only sand. But it was too late to turn back. Behind them lay emptiness. Ahead of them, a mirage of salvation. Some believed they saw lights flickering on the horizon, the torches of the oracle, perhaps. Others said it was the glow of death. And then, on the 10th day, it came. A storm unlike anything the desert had seen in living memory. Winds screamed at the speed of gods. Sand rose like ocean waves, burying tents, crushing men, smothering horses. The desert swallowed the army whole. 50,000 souls gone in a single day. When the winds finally died, there was nothing. No footprints, no weapons, no sound. Just dunes stretching to the edge of the earth, smooth, untouched, eternal. News of the disaster reached Cambyses weeks later. He refused to believe it. How can an army vanish? He demanded. He sent scouts to search, but none returned. The story became legend. Some said the army had been punished by the gods of Egypt. Others whispered they had reached the oasis of Ammon and disappeared into another world. For more than 2,000 years, the truth remained buried. Then, in the 1990s, an Italian archaeologist named Angelo and his wife Alfredo and Angelo Castiglione found something strange in the sands of Egypt's western desert. Bronze arrowheads, fragments of weapons, jewelry, bones scattered across miles of golden emptiness. They realized they were standing in the footsteps of ghosts. It wasn't myth. The army had been real, and so had their fate. A massive sandstorm, a force of nature so violent it could move mountains, had entombed them alive. 50,000 men, preserved in silence beneath the dunes for eternity. But perhaps the most haunting part of this story is not how they died, but why they went. They didn't march for conquest. They marched for obedience, for the pride of one man, the wrath of a king who couldn't bear to be defied. And in the end, the desert proved what empires forget, that power fades and nature always remembers. Today, when the wind blows across the Siwa oasis, Locals still say you can hear whispers in the sand, the sound of soldiers calling out for water, for mercy, for home. The Lost Army of Persia never found their destination. But they found something else, a place in history, a warning carved not in stone, but in silence. Because sometimes the greatest mysteries of the past aren't written in books. They're buried beneath our feet.